Welcome to Real Estate Hot Wired. Maggie Rose March will be your host today. She is an informed voice for the novice investor, a voice of reason for the seasoned investor. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Maggie Rose, and this is Real Estate Hot Wired. Today we are talking with Peter West about opportunities in commercial real estate. Peter is a consummate professional. No stranger to the business, Peter has worked in residential, commercial, appraisal, land, new home sales, and as a mortgage originator. Currently, he focuses on commercial and investment and development on his own behalf and for clients on a nationwide basis. Peter's approach with his clients is based on a counseling model versus a sales approach. He holds several professional licenses, both as a real estate broker in Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, Florida, and he's also instructor's license in Florida, Massachusetts, and New York. He has many professional designations and certifications, including he is a certified residential specialist. He's a graduate of the Real Estate Institute, and he's also is the Society of Exchange Counselors. He's received in 2007, inducted into the Buyers Hall of Fame. And in 2020, most recently, Jack Hunt Excellence in Education Award from the Society of Exchange Counselors. He has affiliations with both the Venice Area Board of Realtors and the Sarasota Manatee Association of Realtors. He is with the Commercial Real Estate Alliance, the Florida Association of Realtors, and National Association of Realtors, which is NAR, and then most relevant to what we're talking about today, CCIM. Peter, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here because, as you said, this is one of my favorite topics.
Yes, I love it. I think that you should just jump in and talk about whatever part, whether it's the risk facet of commercial real estate or really the myth around that people think commercial real estate is so much more risky, and you can't avoid risk anyway. But what's your take on the risk of commercial real estate, say, versus the other forms of investment?
I think commercial real estate has each segment of real estate has its own hot buttons. I joke and say that commercial real estate doesn't talk back. Residential real estate is usually the gateway or the entry into people owning some smaller apartments or single family rentals. And you get into commercial investment real estate, and it's a much bigger world. You're dealing with typically more sophisticated investors. You're dealing with, more corporate stuff. You're not dealing with emotions. You're dealing with logic, I think, is the big difference.
Okay. I know that, for me, the first thing when I think about commercial real estate, I think in Florida, the thing to remember is it's buyer beware. So your buyer needs to be needs to have aligned himself with someone like Peter, someone who really knows this market and understands all the do's and the ins and outs of it, because doing the proper due diligence, that's what I think Peter's referencing, is that you're going to go through the process with verifying the financial documents, performing physical inspections, checking out the legal pieces of the property, such as the title.
There's to add to that, there's so much more. The current zoning, the current use, the quality of current lease, the quality of the current tenants. If I see a regional shopping center and I know that it's got a local pizza house, a nail salon in it, and a couple local businesses, that doesn't have the strength that something with a national tenant brings in. We look at credit worthiness of tenants and tenants' ability to pay. And there's so many reasons commercial real estate, you need to know what you're getting into, because for a lot of folks, it's still easy to get into. you have the right down payment, you can get into it, you think that that's a great opportunity. For example, you might think of buying a dentist office that has a dental practice in it with the dentist leasing back as a home run. And it could very well be a home run. But are you named as an additional insured on the tenant, the dentist's life insurance policy, for example? Those are important things to know, because in that example that I'm using there, a dentist's office, that dental practice is only as good as the dentist is working. If something tragically happens to the dentist, the practice is closed the next day. You have an asset that has no lease all of a sudden. So what's it going to be like? The quality of the lease. Do you have the guarantee? Do you have the life insurance assigned to you? That kind of thing. And if that does happen, and the building in commercial real estate, we would say the building goes dark at that point. What does that mean? How easy is it to rent the property? What about the location? Dollar Generals are great investments, but if the store goes dark, what are you going to get in there? Because they're usually in the boondocks, that kind of thing.
Right,
so just because it's commercial investment real estate and you're dealing with a successful investor, they may not be acclimated to commercial real estate or commercial real estate in Florida specifically. And if you go in it and you make a mistake, it's usually a very expensive mistake. And sometimes it's a mistake that you'll never financially recover from. It'll cause bankruptcy.
Right. Yeah. So, doing that due diligence, when I working with somebody in residential or a smaller property, something not as big as most commercial deals, you're always telling them, there are inspections that you want to go through and do. And I talk to people and I say, you pay for that inspection. What you're paying for is the privilege of walking away so you don't make a bigger mistake. So it's a small amount of money.
Or you know what you're getting into.
And you could maybe turn it into a really sweet deal, because now you know what needs to be done. You can have a better conversation with both the seller and the seller's agent.
You also need to know zoning. We bought a deal a few years ago that was a large industrial building, and it started out as a sale leaseback, which meant they were going to sell us the building and they were going to lease it back. And when we got into their numbers, well, now I know why they were looking to sell the building, because they were in a position where they needed to raise capital quickly. And an analysis of the business, the tenant's financial records showed us that right off the bat. Long story short, it took us a year to close on the property. We started buying it from the owner, and Maggie, I'll tell you that the story ended where we bought it out of bankruptcy court. That's what was happening. Wow. However, one of the things that was there, you had this 150,000 square foot industrial building, and it was situated on 27 acres.
And where was this, Peter? Where was this?
That's in western Massachusetts in the Springfield market, a town called Agawam. But what we did was, when we looked at the whole package, we had the building. At the time, we had a tenant in there, but no longer. But we also looked at the 27 acres and what could be done with them. And knowing the zoning, we reviewed the zoning and we saw the upside. This is the key. The upside was where we have now resurveyed the property, and we've successfully sold off one of the parcels for a significant amount of money, and it was excess land that we would have never used. So by knowing what the zoning is and what you can do with the piece other than what's there, and I said it in the last show, is you make your money in the purchase, not the sale of the real estate. So when we bought that parcel, we knew all the upside going in, and that was a really fun and exciting deal as it's unfolding with tenants going in the building, selling off excess land, paying for the building. Then you're going to have a building that's paid for with tenants filling it up, increasing cash flow every month.
Awesome. And you did that in 18 minutes, right?
No. It's like I said, it took a year. It took a year to close.
Yeah, to close. From when you went under? Go ahead.
We went from our first offer to closing was a year and 2 months.
And how long do you think you searched for that property before you even found the right opportunity?
We're searching every single day in the marketplace east of the Mississippi.
And I hope the audience heard that. Every single day you're searching. And that's what it takes. You have to have that mindset to constantly be observing and watching and listening and letting people know that this is what you do and that you want to hear about opportunities.
So what I do with our clients, Maggie, is figure out what their strategies are going to be. And we develop a formula that's almost like a napkin test or a litmus test. And basically it works where for our own investment portfolio, we have a certain litmus test. I plug certain numbers in. If the property works, it warrants taking it to the next step. If it doesn't, we move on to the next property. And any sophisticated investor is always looking. I mean, there's not an investor that I know of that if you bring them a good deal isn't going to buy it. Think about it. So that's what's happening right now that would allow it. So we develop with our clients an investment strategy, and we're able to vet the investment pretty quickly, whether it's going to meet their strategies.
Wow. Okay. So so expert market knowledge. Do you feel like the typical you aren't the typical investor looking for that because you were the expert? Do you feel that most people that work are interested in commercial investment have that kind of expert knowledge, or that they need to work with someone who does?
Oh, you need to have this is something you don't go alone. You develop a relationship. I have clients that I've worked with for years, and they stick with me because I know what they're looking for, and I'm going to put them in the right deal, and I'm not going to waste their time with deals they don't want to look at. That's the easiest way as a professional commercial investment realtor I can turn a client off, is constantly send them stuff that they don't want to see. When I send you something, it's going to fit your basic litmus test for you to explore further.
That's it. That's really, I hope people are paying attention. I hope we have a good audience today, because this is good stuff. So knowing the market like the back of your hand, that's going to set you up for success. But if you don't, working with someone like Peter who does, that's going to really help make sure that you are making a deal and that's going to make sense for you down the road. And so you don't want to pay too much, or you'll lock up the cash flow maybe to the point where it sinks you. We talked about that. What do you think is changing in the face of commercial? I mean, what's your feeling about shared space or virtual office space? What do you think's happening in that market?
I think you're starting to see more of it. And with the current situation now, I think there's going to be some shifts in the marketplace. I think we're already finding those that are confined to home because work has sent them home have realized that working at home is not all that it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
I believe that you're going to see a shift in officing, but I think shared offices, virtual offices, I think technology is going to play a better part and allow us to work efficiently. I firmly believe that as we get to a more internet-based retail society, that industrial warehousing and storage and anything to do with logistics is going to be a keeper for a long time. Amazon needs buildings. Distributors need buildings. One of our tenants in that building is a furniture dealer, if you will. She's an immigrant to the country. She imports furniture from Asia and warehouses it in our building, and then it's sold to Wayfair, which is an online home goods type online retail platform. Mm-hmm. So I think as certain markets evolve, you're going to have certain things. I think the big box retail is going to change. I think office is going to change. However, where we saw office where more people were working remotely and everything, we